Joining us now with reaction, the Deputy Assistant to President Trump, Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Dr. Gorka, it started with General Flynn saying Iran is on notice, and that was followed, of course, by Iran. A little bit of saber rattling on their part. Now sanctions are being put in place, and beyond the sanctions, if I'm a mullah in Iran, what am I taking out of Donald Trump's tweet today?
Well, I think you've interpreted it exactly right, Sean. This is a new dawn, a new age for America and its relations with people who threaten regimes that threaten us, our partners, or basically regional stability. Look, let's be very clear here. The Persian people are an amazing people with a civilization that's thousands of years old. But we have a regime in Tehran that is destabilizing from Yemen to Iraq, all through the world, with its financing of terrorism, with its intimidation of our naval vessels, the partners in the region and their naval vessels, their funding of proxies. This must end, and we are drawing a very bright line in the sand to send the message that it has to stop, Sean.
I could tell you, Dr. Gorka, knowing Donald Trump as well as I do and what we've observed in just the first 2 weeks, I would take his word seriously. That's number one. Number two, there has been a new alliance that has been created. He's talked to General al-Sisi of Egypt. I know King Abdullah of Jordan has spoken with the Vice President Mike Pence. I know that the relationship, Donald Trump told me in the interview with him, with Israel has been repaired. And from what I understand, there's no love lost between the Iranians and the Saudis. Could you see such a coalition, America, Israel, the Saudis, Jordan, the Jordanians, and the Egyptians lining up to take out these nuclear sites? If you're an Iranian mullah, aren't you thinking that's a possibility?
Look, we in the administration are not going to tip our hand. We're not going to do what the Clinton administration did, the Obama administration did, and give away our game plan. But you're absolutely right, Sean. Look at what we have done in just the last 14 days. We are starting to rebuild all those relationships in the region that are crucial, the ones that were almost destroyed in the last 8 years. Whether it's with Jordan, whether it's with Egypt, whether it's our closest ally, Israel. We are rebuilding all those bridges that were almost burnt to the ground under the Obama administration, because it is so important that our friends understand we are their friends, and that our enemies and our adversaries know who the president is and that it is not Barack Obama.
All right. Based on these sanctions, based on the tweet by the president, based on all that the USS Cole being positioned off the coast of Yemen, if you're the Iranian mullahs, what are they thinking tonight? Are they so arrogant that they don't know there's a new sheriff in town?
I pray to the good Lord that the mullahs, the power center of this theocratic dictatorship, understands that they can't go on with business as usual. Donald Trump is a man of his word. I can guarantee you that they will start to look at things a little bit differently and understand this isn't like the Syrian red lines. Remember the Syrian red lines under the last administration? No.
Yep.
This is a very, very different situation. And hopefully they'll start to realize that it is not in their interests to act in the provocative and destabilizing way they've behaved for the last 30 years.
I think we have to ask a very important question. If the Iranian mullahs were ever to get nuclear weapons, weapons of mass destruction, when you couple A squared, B squared equals C squared, radical Iranian mullahs dedicated to the destruction of the free world and the advancement of a caliphate, coupled with nuclear weapons, seems to be a prescription for a nuclear holocaust. Isn't that something the world must truthfully face and acknowledge and defeat before that day ever comes?
Yes, your calculation is a very simple one. Let's look at the components there. We have a regime that believes, at least part of it, in apocalyptic ideas, the occultation of the hidden imam. They think that they're building a caliphate in the end times, and they wish to acquire weapons of mass destruction and will not be deterred like the Soviet Union. This isn't a bunch of rational actors like Brezhnev. These are people who may actually think it is a good idea to initiate the apocalypse.
Well,
that's why acquisition of nuclear weapons is bad.
I want to be very clear. I think especially after 58,000 lives are lost in Vietnam and the war becomes politicized, then we have to ask, why did these men fight, bleed, and die? Same thing with Iraq and Afghanistan. 5,000 dead, many more lost their limbs and were severely injured. And then it becomes politicized, and we lose the cities they won, Ramadi, Fallujah, Mosul, and Tikrit. So my question to you is it possible to remove those sites and the threat of them getting nuclear weapons without putting boots on the ground? Because I don't think any American, me included, wants that to happen.
I'm not going to comment with regards to what is and what isn't possible, because again that'd be tipping our hand. But actions like this have been taken in the past. If you look at Iraq, if you look at other nations, if you look at what the Israelis have done,
by the Israelis.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So, and the president is clear on this. President Trump is clear. We're not interested in invading countries. That's not what we do as a nation. This nation was born in resistance to imperial attitudes.
Well, let me ask this, Dr. Gorka, because I think this is very fundamental and very important. The Iraq case, there was worldwide condemnation of Israel, and then it was only years later that people recognized it was the right thing to do. It was almost not reported what they did in Syria. But the Iranians, they are evil, but they are not stupid. And they have buried these nuclear facilities way down deep in the ground and all around the country. And we're talking about a lot of ground to cover here. I've got to imagine that's a difficult, challenging military operation. And I'll give you the last word.
It may be challenging, but remember, this is the greatest nation on God's earth, and we have the best military and the best intelligence agencies out there. Just look at the Abbottabad mission. Look at what we've done in the past. So, and you don't necessarily have to use military tools. I'll just leave it at that.
All right, Dr. Gorka, our thoughts and prayers are with our military guys, and I would say the Iranians are very foolish if they are going to test this president. It won't end well for them.